Welcome to the Aria training course session, SSC number 2, which is the continuation to the sales order allocation and the shipping cycle. So as a recap of last training sessions for anyone who attended before, in the previous sessions we discussed the sales order maintenance, how to create a sales order, revise a sales order, edit and print the order confirmation. So today, supposedly everyone who's attending, they have a basic knowledge on how to maintain the customer master, how to maintain the style master list, and how to create a sales order. So today's course or today's session, the focus is on the shipping cycle, how to approve the order for invoicing, how to allocate the sales order with different methods, and then finally how to invoice and confirm ship of any sales order. So I'm going to start sharing my desktop so everyone can see my Aria screen. So actually, before we do that, I'm gonna go over quickly the first couple of PowerPoint slides that we have. So as we mentioned, the prerequisites for this training session is general knowledge of how to navigate through Aria system. Customer master is set up, style master is set up, and as we discussed in the previous session, how to maintain a sales order. So first topic we are going to discuss today is the credit approval for sales order. So I'm going to open up Aria XP, and this particular option is under the transaction menu, sales order module, and then order approval. So this is the path how to navigate to that option to approve orders for credit purpose or for any other approval. So you go to transaction, sales orders, then order approval screen. Let me maximize the screen a little bit. So this screen, as you noticed, it has two tabs. It's divided into two tabs. The first tab is just listing all the customer accounts that you have. So any account in general that is in the customer master list will be listed here. And you will see some basic information about this account, like the account name, the status, whether it's active, hold, or canceled account. Then you will see the current balance due, debit or credit. You will see the credit limit. If you enter the credit limit on the customer master, it will show up here. And then it will show you the calculated available credit limit for each customer. So this is again the first list. The second list or the second tab is the orders tab. And this is simply correlates to the first tab. So if you highlighted customer Cynthia Rowley, for example, the first client, so the second tab will show only the orders for the customer that you highlighted or you selected in the first tab, and so on and so forth. If you navigated to another customer, the orders tab will refresh and correlate to the selected customer and show you all the existing either open or hold status sales orders for that specific account. So the idea here simply that you have the ability to either do that one by one or in batch. So you'll notice here there is a select all button or there is a select only for a specific account. So what the screen function here does, that it lets you either select a specific account, and depending on the credit limit available, it will go and approve the sales orders within the credit limit available for that account. So if, let us say, this customer has a credit limit of $5,000, but currently he has available only $1,400 available, let's say. So the system will scan the available orders. If you click approve, it will scan the sales order and only approve sales orders up until the available credit limit. If not, and if you decided to go manually to approve, then you still can do that. So you do not approve from here. You can still go to the orders tab and you can just manually pick the order that you would like to approve and switch the status to open. And you can furthermore associate any approval number in that field. So you can put an approval reference. Either if you are dealing with credit card, you can put the credit card approval reference, or if you are dealing with a factor, so you can put the factor approval in that case. So again, this is the idea of how to approve either manually or by letting the system check the credit availability. And in that case, if you choose approve button, in that case, the system is gonna do the math for you and will check if the available credit balance is sufficient for the existing orders and thus approve the orders within. The other way is the manual way, which is you pick the account, you go to the orders and you simply switch the status to open and associate an approval number and an approved amount. There is other features in that screen like recompute the credit available. Let us do that and see what happens. If you selected all the accounts in the list and you want to refresh the information, let us say that some transactions may happen since the last time you visited this screen. So if you selected all records and you click recompute credit, the system will simply validate the current balance, the current outstanding balance for each customer against their credit limit availability and will give you the available credit based on that balance. So this screen, it's very simple, but in the same time, it's very a good tool in case if you have a credit tracking or if you'd like to track the credit balance of the customer and you would like to see if you should go ahead and approve them or not. Other business scenario, as I mentioned, if you deal with factor, so in that case, usually the factor is the one who will perform the credit limit checkup and he will simply send you a credit approval number, and in that case you can go and manually approve the orders by switching the status to open and put the approval number. Just to show you also as a revision on the customer master, if anyone have a question on that regard, the credit limit maintenance is done from the master data, from the customer master option. So here you pick up your account code and in the special tab you will see the credit limit and the credit expiration. So this is how you can revise the credit limit by customer, and this is also how you can add or you can extend a credit limit expiration date so the system can perform the validation according to the new information that you entered here. So once you do that and you go back to the credit approval process, the system should automatically will be able to recalculate the credit available balance and will show you if or not if there is any available balance, and thus you can take a decision whether or not to approve orders for that customer, as you can see here. All right, so this is the first topic we have today, and just as a hint, the credit approval is optional and usually it's based on your company setup. So in other words, if you do not wish to process the credit approval, there is a system setup that we can turn off this function and we can let you simply issue invoices no matter if the order status is open or on hold. So that scenario would be good in case if your company, for example, deals with a factor and all the time you are sure that the credit approval is taken care of in advance, or if you are not willing to do credit approval. So by contacting us, we can switch off that parameter and we can let the system just issue invoices on hold status for orders on hold even if there is no credit approval. The second topic that we are going to talk about today related to the shipping cycle, it is the sales order allocation. So I'm going to skip that part for the order approval that we have done already. Just as a recap of that section, we discussed the benefit of going through credit approval process. We discussed that which business scenario that can be used, and this is typically it's a function that should be performed by either a manager or by the AR clerk in your company or by the person in accounting who authorize orders. We also discussed ways of doing a credit approval, either automatically by the system if there is a credit information available in the customer master, or manually by you taking the decision of which customer and which order to approve. And we discussed what information is used to run the credit approval. There is only one point I missed before we go further, which is the related credit approval report. So let me show you that. From the output menu, if you go to accounts receivable module, transactions, then customer credit. So this report can give you an overview of the current credit balance by account, and you can see by looking at that report, you can see if there is available credit limit and what is the current unshipped orders versus unpaid invoices and the open credit balance. So that report is very helpful in case if you maintain the credit information and you maintain the credit approval of the customer. So the system at any given point can give you a comparison between what credit limit the customer have, the outstanding balance of any unshipped orders, the unpaid balance, and the open credit balance for that customer. So this is the direct or the key report related to this credit approval function. So now we are going to move on to the next topic in that session, which is the allocation process and the different options that you have to allocate sales orders. And as most of you know that normally speaking the shipping cycle starts once the order is approved regarding the credit approval, and once the order is ready to go, then it's moved to the shipping employee or to the warehouse employee if they are the one to do that. And from there they start allocate the merchandise to make sure there is availability in the warehouse and to decide whether they are shipping partially or they are shipping the order completely and take the necessary action to create a big ticket and so on. So this will be what we are going to discuss next. So doing the allocation is done through the transaction menu, sales order allocation module, and then the first option, which is the manually done by order, it's allocation by order screen. And in this screen, it's simply giving you access to the sales order by either typing in the order number in Aria or by clicking the browse list and locating the order number that you would like to allocate and generate a big ticket for. So definitely the order has to be on open status. If it's on hold status, let us see what will happen. If I accidentally selected an order on hold status, the system will give me a warning message and will still give me the choice if I would like to and if I have the rights to continue allocating even the order is on hold status. If not, which is normally the correct business scenario, that the accounting team or the AR team will approve the order first, so the status should be open at that case. Once the user or the employee in the shipping department select the order, the system will retrieve the order information and the order line data. So it will tell me what was the enter date of the order, the start shipping date, the completion date. All these are information listing coming from the sales order. And then the lines will show me the style, color, and size breakdown for each line on that sales order. So before start doing anything, the user has to click on the edit button, edit current record. And then as you navigate through the sales order lines, you'll be able to see the quantity information that was booked on the order, and you will be able to see what was allocated from before and you'll be able to inquire what's the availability by size for the selected style color. So first line is showing you the availability. So let's take that line as an example. This is the available quantity as of now in the warehouse for that style color by size. This is the booked quantity by size, and this is what you plan to allocate and what you plan to ship for that specific sales order. So if you noticed here in that example, if the order is previously picked partially, let us say, in that case you will see an assigned pick ticket number and an assigned pick date. So that means right away that this order has been partially picked from before, and this is the quantity that has been allocated against that order line. So you still can continue your allocation by going to another line. So if I went to the second line, I can choose to allocate. And in that case, I have two scenarios. Either I do have availability in the warehouse to allocate the full quantity, or in that example, like what I see on the screen, I have 44 pieces available while the customer ordered 100. So I can revise manually the quantity that I'm going to allocate to override with the quantity that I would like to allocate. If I click allocate button, the system will do that validation for me, and it will allocate only within the availability. So again, what I did, that I check mark the line that I would like to allocate, I click allocate, and then the system automatically validate the availability against the order book quantity, and it just allocates within the available quantity. So let us undo this line for a minute and show you what other options or what other scenarios that you have. Let us say in some rare cases you know that the quantity will be available in the warehouse, but it is just not updated in the system. In that business scenario, you still want to go ahead and allocate the full book quantity, even though that you don't have yet the merchandise available in the warehouse. So what you need to do in that case, you can go to option and you can check always force allocation. So this parameter, options always force allocation, it simply will override the validity of the available or the inventory availability step. So the system will simply let you allocate and generate a pick ticket no matter if there is availability or not. Normally speaking, this is not recommended unless you are sure 100% that the merchandise physically will be available. It's probably just a matter of system is not updated, or you did not receive the related production order or the related cutting ticket into the warehouse yet, or any other reason that you might need to force the allocation. By default, this option is not checked. So again, if it's not forcing allocation, meaning that the system will simply allocate within the availability of that style, color, and size. The second option that you need to be aware of is generate picking ticket. If you want to allocate and reserve the quantity from the warehouse and in the same step generate a pick ticket reference, so you have to check that option, and by simply clicking generate pick ticket, the system at the end, after you pick and allocate the line, the system will generate a pick ticket document number, and that will be associated with that sales order and with that order line. So let us redo the pick function in that case on that line. So now the system will allocate within the quantity available in the availability for that style, color, and size. And upon saving the transaction, the system will give me a pick ticket number. So the final step now is to save. And here's a scenario that you might come across. If the order was partially allocated before to a previous pick ticket number, the system is capable to either let you add to an existing pick ticket or create a new pick ticket number. So in our case, I have already pick ticket number 5 already generated from before. So if I would like to go ahead and add the new allocation to that pick ticket, I choose add. If I want to allocate this line separately in another pick ticket, I choose new. So I'm gonna add in that case, and that means all the two lines of that sales order will be added to the same pick ticket number. So This is a simple cycle of how to generate a pick ticket, and we saw how to either allocate partially or allocate fully depending on the availability. We saw how to either continue picking and allocating to an existing pick ticket number, or to choose to assign a totally new pick ticket number if I want to segregate the lines for any reason to have different pick ticket numbers. Once the system issue a pick ticket, the status of it will be open. You can still do any revisions if you want to, so you can go back, edit, and you can revise any information if needed. So you can go and modify the allocated information for that pick ticket, for that style color if you want. And you can go again and save after doing any changes, so it will be updated on the same document on the same pick ticket number. So once this step is done, you are done with that part and you do have a pick ticket number. Just before we leave that option and discuss other allocation options that you have, in that screen you have actually some tools or some tips and tricks that can make your job easier. So if you are in an order that have lots of lines, let's say it has 100 lines and it's different styles, different colors, you have the capability by going to options, sort by style. The system will rearrange the lines for you alphabetically by the style number. So that will make your job easier to scan through the order lines and to get exactly to the style number that you want to allocate. By default, the system is sorting by line number, which is the same sequence that the order was entered in the system. So you can change the sort option. Furthermore, you can choose the option to scope on, or in other words, to filter by. So in that case, if the same example, if you do have a big order with numerous lines and you just need to allocate at this point a certain style, so you can go to the scope and you can click style in range, and you can just go through the list and check mark the style that you'd like to see or to allocate at this point. Once you apply the selection, set scope, and the system will simply scan all the lines for that order and only show you the lines related to that sales order, to that style. So let me repeat it again. I went to option, I went to scope on, I click style in range, and I just check mark the style number that I would like to search for or to filter by, apply selection, and set scope. So in that case, the system will just give me the styles that I would like to see or to allocate at this point. So that's a very good tool that can let you actually focus on the information that you want in case of a large number of lines in a sales order, or if you have a multi-store order for different destinations and you want to see a specific style across the different stores. So now we are gonna move on to the next topic we have today. So as we discussed briefly in the first option available to allocate manually by sales order, allocation process is basically for the warehouse or the shipping team to make sure they do have availability in the warehouse, and they make sure that whether they are shipping the order completely or partially. We also discussed the option that can generate a pick ticket right away. Once you save the session, you can choose to generate a pick ticket, and that is actually allocating the merchandise and picking or creating a pick ticket. Relation between allocation and OTS number. The allocation quantity is the quantity that you decide to ship and pick for that order. The OTS is the open to sell, or in other terminology, it's the available quantity that you can allocate within. Relation between allocation and available to pick numbers. Relation between allocated and inventory number, and allocation document. So this is the next item that we'd like to see now. So after you have a pick ticket number and the sales order is picked and you generated the pick ticket number, you can print that by going to output, sales order allocation, then picking ticket. So this is the form or the document to print a hard copy of your picking ticket number. So again, the path is output, sales order allocation, picking ticket. In that screen or in that form, you can choose to either omit or show the prices. So for instance, if you do not want to show the prices to the customer or to the warehouse packer or to the warehouse team, you can choose to omit the prices at the time of printing. You can also choose to either include or exclude orders on hold. As we mentioned, the order usually is placed on hold until you perform the credit approval, as we saw on the first part of the session. You can elect to print the order notepad either on the header level or on the line level, and this is just a free memo notepad, as you know. And furthermore, you can add an optional message which usually will print on the footer part of the pick ticket, and this could be anything like terms and conditions of sale. It could be return conditions or return policy, whatever. So any text that you write here up to 3 lines will be saved and memorized and will print every time as a footer message on your pick ticket form. Next parameter, whether the pick ticket is printed from before or no. So do you like to see all the pick tickets or only the not printed ones? Usually not printed is the preferred or the preference in that case. If you want to reprint any pick ticket, you still can include that status. You can sort the lines of the pick ticket by line number or by style number. And finally, you can select by any of these parameters, either account number, pick ticket date, range, etc. If you know your pick ticket number, so you can go ahead and locate your pick ticket number, check it, apply the selection, and now you are ready to print, preview the pick ticket or print it as a hard copy. So once we preview the pick ticket form, it will show me the form layout that will show up if I printed, and it shows the pick ticket number, the customer information, the ship to address, the warehouse location that I'm shipping from, sales order, shipping date window, and on the lines level it will show me the style, color, and size breakdown. The good thing here that the form is designed to be copied or sent to the actual team in the warehouse who is packing the merchandise, so they can actually check mark under each size which of them has been physically picked and packed. So that's why we have an empty line here that just the packer in the warehouse can check mark how many pieces they allocated and they physically picked from that style, color, and size. Finally, you will see at the footer the text message that we entered, and as we mentioned, this can be used generically for any terms and conditions, any policy of returns, any notes you might need to convey to your client. So you can add this here as a free text notepad in the footer of the pick ticket. All right, finally, before we leave the output part of the pick ticket, there is actually a new enhancement was done, which maybe it's good to mention, that you can now choose to sort the pick tickets by packing group. And the purpose of that new feature that it will be helpful for you if you have a range of pick tickets, let us say for the same account, and you would like to see a recap of that pick ticket. So in that case, let us pick some example here. Let's say I have a range of whatever 2-3 pick tickets for the same customer, and I want the system to show me a packing summary report. So if I switch the sort option to be sorted by packing group, I will now be able, or I will see another option to print pack summary report, yes or no. Furthermore, if I choose yes, I will be able to see the packing summary report only, or to see it along with the pick ticket. So let me show you the idea here what this option does. If I choose print pack summary only, yes, and no matter how many pick ticket range I selected, if I now print the report, the system, instead of printing a pick ticket form only, it will print that report that you can see now. And this report is simply a recap of all the picked merchandise, all the pick ticket that you selected in that session. And the idea here that the system summarizes it by style, color, and size. It gives you the total, how many pieces ordered in general for that style, color, and how many pick tickets you have for, or how many stores, in other words, that you have for that specific style, color. So the first columns, it's telling me that I have pick ticket, only one pick ticket for that style, color, and for the second group, or the pack number 2, I have only one pick ticket. This is the total quantity from that packing group, and at the end the system will show me a grand total by style, color, total picked quantity, no matter the store, or no matter what the pick ticket number is. So that scenario or that report would be helpful if you are shipping to like multi-store orders and you do have numerous picking tickets, and picking tickets are all going to the same customer, but it's just a matter you need to know the recap and the total that the warehouse people should allocate as a reconciliation process. So again, this option is available within the pick ticket form printout if you choose to print to sort by packing group first and to print the packing summary report. If you choose no, then it's still gonna print the regular pick ticket form, and at the end, after finish with printing the pick ticket form, it will show me at the end the recap or the summary report that will just summarize the range of the pick tickets I selected and will give me the total for all the styles. So this are the key options you have as far as the print out, how to print a pick ticket for allocated sales orders, how to print a recap or a summary for the entire range of sales order. There is definitely lots of or other few reports available in the allocation module. Maybe we'll not have time to discuss and go over all of them within that limited time of the session. But just as an example, you can print a pick ticket log report. So this is a high-level report that can let you see all the pick tickets generated within a certain time frame by account, by certain order, by certain or for certain warehouse, and so on. So it's a listing, or it's a pick ticket log report for the entire company, and you can, as you can see, it can list you the header information by pick ticket, by order number, by account. So let's see what else we have in that section. So allocation related documents and report. This is what we discussed. Now we will discuss other ways to allocate the merchandise. So the first option that we discussed, allocation by order, is simply, it's a straightforward method to allocate directly order by order. But what if I want to allocate by style, or I want to allocate a range of orders in the same time? So in that case, the system allows me to have additional advanced option to generate my pick ticket and to allocate the orders by. The first option that we'll discuss is the allocation by style. So if I go here to transaction, sales order allocation, then allocation by style, the system in that case will let me select a style number that I want to gather all the related sales orders open for that style. And then the system will let me or will look at all the sales orders available for that style and will give me the option in one shot to allocate all the sales orders, no matter what the customer, no matter what the quantity of that sales order, only as long as they pertain to that style number and color. So as you can see, the system here gathered the information by style. It gives me all the available or all the open sales orders for that style. It's still gonna show me in the header part total pieces allocated. It will show me total available for that style. It will let me choose the warehouse where I want to allocate from, and thus the system will deduct the quantity allocated from the proper warehouse location. And it shows further information like the stock on hand of that style and the total current work in process of that style. So now you can simply go over all the orders that matching that style, and you can decide which one of them to pick or allocate. And as we mentioned, pick button will generate a pick ticket, while allocate button will simply allocate the merchandise without generating a pick ticket number. So here the system is giving me a warning message that the quantity allocated is greater than the available quantity for a specific size. Do you want to override that and force allocation? If you choose yes, it will apply to that order only. If you choose yes to all, it will apply to all orders, or otherwise you can choose no, and that means skip the allocation for these sizes and just do not allocate only within the availability. So let's say I want to only allocate within availability, so I'm going to choose no. The system will repeat the same validation for each and every order, for each and every style, color, and size. So if I am sure that I want to force the allocation and bypass the availability validation, I can choose yes, and then the system will allocate the merchandise accordingly. Here what shows up is the total quantity on the order level. You still can modify, and you'll be able to see the quantity by size. So here is the quantity allocated by size for that selected order for that style, and I still can do revision to either overwrite or force the allocation or bypass the availability check. Same goes for each and every order. You can still go and click pick, and you can then, if the order is not approved, you will get always a warning message that the order is not approved. Then the next validation is to let you decide whether or not to bypass the availability check. Once you are done with that, you will see right away that the system has generated a pick ticket number for the selected orders. And this method, as you can see, it's from the style standpoint, so it might be easier based on your business scenario to allocate by style. So you know that this style is available in the warehouse, you know how many pieces you have open to sell, so you want to choose that style first to go ahead and allocate all the merchandise before you go further for the next style and so on. The last option that we have that Aria XP offers to allocate the merchandise is the automatic allocation. And this is, you can consider it's a batch processing. So you can allocate the orders by numerous or by different variables. You will be the one who has control, and you will set the parameters for the system, and accordingly the system will gather the sales orders related and allocate the merchandise or generate peak tickets for all the sales order that match this criteria. So let us see what we have here as parameters. First option, separates or coordinates. This is normally used only if you do have, or if you use the grouping on the sales order line. And the grouping is simply a letter or a check digit on each order line that can mark certain lines on the sales orders to usually need to be grouped and need to be allocated together. So if you want to allocate only these lines that are marked with that grouping code, you can choose coordinate groups. If you say separates, meaning it's the opposite way, it's gonna take the lines that do not have any grouping code. If you say both, meaning no exceptions, or every line on the sales order will be included in the allocation, no matter if it belongs to a grouping code or not. Allocated or not allocated, normally speaking, preference would be not allocated, so you just need to see the orders that are not previously allocated or picked. You can choose to exclude bulk orders, which is typically preference. You can choose to exclude sales orders on hold. Then you can select by one of these variables, or by one of these options. You can select by style, by order, by customer account, or furthermore by the production order. So if, let us say, you want to select in one shot, in batch, all the sales orders for a specific account. So in that case, I would select by account number. And then I can go to the accounting list, choose or select my account number that I would like to allocate. And the system, once you run the query or once you run the program, it will gather all the orders available or open status orders for that account. You can furthermore narrow down your selection by any of these parameters, like the start date of the sales order, the completion date, the enter date. So this way you can narrow down your criteria by one of these information on the sales order. Furthermore, you can put or set the priority that you would like to allocate for. So also this is depending on whether or not you are utilizing this information on the sales order. So if you remember from last sessions, that we have a priority code on the customer and on the sales order. So if this priority code is maintained, the system can use it as a filter option at the time of allocating. So you can prioritize your orders. You can allocate orders with priority 1 first, then priority 2, 3, and so on. If not, by default, the system assigns priority number 5 for any orders if you did not change it or override. Sorry about that. So the idea here that you simply set your filter criteria with different variables or different search criteria, and then you can run your query or your program. If there is any matching records, it will show up in the criteria. So probably we selected an account that doesn't have any available sales orders as of now. So let me see first from transaction screen. I'm gonna look for some orders that are still open, and let us see. Alright, so this is a good account, CY. Okay, so let me go back to the sales order allocation, automatic allocation. And again, it will open up the criteria for me. So this time I'm gonna choose to select by customer account. I'm gonna go locate the account number that I would like to see, apply. Then as an optional, you can furthermore narrow down your selection criteria as we discussed. Then you check mark, confirm that you would like to allocate now, yes. And the system finally will open another selection grid just for the sake of selecting the warehouse location you are picking from. This option will be available only if your company is set to have multi-warehouse location. If not, normally you will have one default location. The final parameters here is just to set the sort option. How do you like the screen, or how do you like the records for the customer selected to show up on the screen and thus to be allocated in the same order? Do you want it by sales order completion date first, then by priority second, and then by start date, or whatever the option that you choose to prioritize and sort your orders by? Once you click OK and confirm, final confirmation will show up. Do you want to generate big ticket now? And here are the last question in the wizard. I know it looks like a little bit cumbersome, but it's just for your safety. The system does not generate right away big tickets for the entire batch. It goes through several confirmations, so this way you can make sure that this is what you want to do. So if you want to generate new pick ticket for each and every order, you choose yes. If you want to ask about existing pick ticket, you can choose ask, or you can say no, meaning that the system will simply use any existing pick ticket number if any. So now I'll choose yes, meaning that I'm gonna generate, the system will generate a new pick ticket. Once I choose yes on that final confirmation, the system will here generate the pick tickets required for the related sales orders. And I can furthermore see in the lower part of the screen, I can see what was the original order quantity, how many pieces I have as cutting or work in process, and the allocated pieces for that specific pick ticket. Same goes the each order I highlight, the system will show me the relevant information in the lower section, so I can correlate with that sales order and that style color, how many pieces available, how many pieces ordered, how many pieces in production, and what's available, what's allocated for that specific sales order. So this process does not have save button. Once you are done with that, meaning that the pick ticket are already generated. If for any reason you want to undo, let us say you did a mistake and one of these orders were supposedly have to stay as released, so you can uncheck the orders that you don't need and keep only the orders that you would like to release, and then you click here on that unlock button to release the selected record. So release button meaning that it will undo the pick ticket and it will reverse back whatever was done and simply put the quantity back as available into the warehouse. So once I click release the selected records, that means the system will undo the pick ticket and put back the quantity into the warehouse. Alright, so as you can see, the automatic allocation is actually a much better way to allocate orders in batch using a specific search criteria by customer account, by style number, by sales order completion date, and in one shot the system will generate the pick tickets for the entire range that you are looking for. You still have the control to go manually and overwrite if needed. You can go and overwrite the allocated pieces or the allocated quantity by size as you want. But by default, if you choose the automatic allocation, the system generally allocate each and every style, color, and size as long as it has availability. So it's an automatic process that can be used if you are sure that you want to allocate everything in one shot, and the system will just perform the validation for you to allocate within the available merchandise or the available quantity. We discussed also how to release in case if any mistake or in case of any problem after I am done with my process. I still can undo the pick ticket by choosing release selected records, and this will simply undo the pick ticket, release the quantity, and put it back into the availability. Other icons we have in that screen is simply the scope, which is it opens back the selection criteria for you, so you can redo or you can fine-tune your selection and your preferences. So you can choose to select by different thing, you can choose to select by style, you can choose to select by order number if you want to, and so on, and thus the related option will show up to let you select by batch for the related information. All right, so now we are gonna go back to see what we discussed so far. So these slides over here that you'll have in the PDF handout, it's just giving you a brief description of what icons you want to click on when you allocate by order and so on. So we discussed that already. Um, So as a recap, we discussed how to release and undo allocation for a given sales order. We discussed what are the effects on the open to sell and the available. Once a big ticket is released, the information are considered again as available, and you can reallocate the quantity to any other customer or any other sales order. So actually that's the last topic I have today. Maybe I'll open up the discussion for everyone if someone has any questions or any related topics or scenarios for the allocation and the shipping cycle. So just bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna unmute the microphone. Okay, everyone. So now it's we are gonna open like a free discussion. If anyone has a question related to the allocation or the credit approval topics that we discussed today, please feel free to bring it up and we can have a discussion for that. Anyone has questions or comments on what we discussed so far in this session? Okay, I guess everyone is okay. All right, so thank you very much everyone for your attendance, and we will let you know about the next session, which I believe will cover the completion of the shipping cycle, how to invoice, how to create a big ticket, and the related AR and invoice form. Thank you everyone again, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, Eric. Have a good day.